Hello, everyone. This is Jesse, and you're listening to Set Lusting Bruce, the podcast where we celebrate the music, the memories, and the stories that Springsteen fans carry with them. Every episode, we sit down with fans from around the world to talk about the songs that shaped them, the shows that moved them, and the moments that keep us coming back to the East Street community. So settle in, turn up the volume, and let's talk a little Bruce, because every Springsteen fan has a story. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We're doing two things today. I have a return guest, Kathy Durham. Kathy is one of my favorite people. And so we're going to catch up a little Bruce, and then we're going to talk a little politics. So, Kathy, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here, Jesse. Hello to your listeners, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be back.
Yes, it was so good to meet you in person and to
Yes.
share a hug and to catch up and talk a little bit. So, how's your year going?
It's going great. I'm back in the classroom and using Stevie Van Zandt's TeachRock curriculum, and it's been terrific. We just did a unit on imperialism with Bad Bunny and Puerto Rico and Cuba, the Spanish-American War. Kids absolutely loved that lesson. We did that over Super Bowl, and then we are now working on a lesson with Jimi Hendrix all about innovation, and we're tying that into the innovation we see in the world today and talking about the risk rewards of doing things differently. And we're doing it through the lens of Jimi Hendrix. And then we're going to move on. March is Women's History Month. So we're going to move on to some women's history and some lessons that they have in that library as well. I think we're doing, oh yeah, it's skipping right off the top of my mind right
Sure.
now. There's some really good lessons. There's a women's suffrage movement in there. And then there's some really good stuff from the 20s that I'm excited to do.
I think it's just,
Harlem
yeah,
Renaissance.
I think it's fascinating that little Stephen has, with experts, has figured out those connections to use music as the gateway to teach other things.
It is unbelievable and it is so powerful. He's got the best people working for him in the content creation. They partnered with the Library of Congress to write this curriculum that is for U.S. history in particular, but he's K through 12, every content level. The library is unbelievable now. They've got over, I think, 1 million students signed up on it. But my students absolutely love TeachRock. They love listening to the different music. When we were doing the Jimi Hendrix one, we were talking about what were his influences? And he grew up listening to his dad's music, which was the blues. And so to give my kids a foundation, they had to look up Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf, and Robert Johnson. And then they all voted on if they could go see any one of them in concert, who would it be? And Muddy Waters was hands down their favorite. They just absolutely love it. But it was great watching their eyes light up listening to this music that is so far removed from their generation. Who knows, could make a comeback thanks to Stevie.
That is awesome. Good. Since we've last talked, we've had box sets, we've had movies, and we've got a new tour. So, did you get to see the movie?
I did see the movie. I was in Salt Lake, taking care of my grandma, and then I went to go hang out with my brother, and they were in a lazy mood. So I went to the theater by myself and sat in there with some other people and absolutely enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to expect. I'd heard a little things here and there, but I absolutely loved it. It was great. And Nebraska has always been one of my favorite albums. And so it was really fun to watch what that was all about and gives you a deeper appreciation for that album.
Yeah, I love the movie. I was so happy in it. I did, and I've talked about this. I wasn't sure who the movie was for because, and I can understand a little bit why it did not do as well commercially. But as a Springsteen fan, I just adored it. And I
Oh
was so
yeah.
happy we have that. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that, if you're not really into the Springsteen or entrenched in that, it might not be as impactful or make as much sense to you. But still, it was just a great movie with a great story. But for those of us who love Springsteen the way we do and appreciate what he has given us, it was really interesting to see his journey and what he went through and how that album was created and what was behind it. And we talk about how he writes the soundtrack to our life. It was interesting to understand how that album was the soundtrack of a part of his life. Very real for him.
Yeah, I think that's really beautifully said. Did you did you get the box set, either one or both?
I did not. I have been saving my money for other things that we're going to talk about
Yes,
later. So I have been, unfortunately, saving my pennies, but trust me, it's on the list.
very nice. Yeah, I would ask you if you're going to be able to make a show this tour, but you might be a little busy, right?
It's one of those things that when once in a lifetime opportunities come along, which what is something that we're going to talk about, I think you seize the moment. And I think this tour is also one of those. And so I will be in Portland.
Ah, very
Uh,
nice.
yeah, it works really well for me because it's during my spring break and it's
Okay.
that last weekend of the spring break. I believe it's a Friday show. And so I'm going to fly out on Thursday, be in for the show there Friday, and then fly home Saturday and resume both my teaching job and my secondary
Your
job,
side gig.
my
Yeah,
side gig.
yeah, I had the same thing. I only get so much free time off. And as I've shared with the listeners, I've been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure how much time I'm going to need. I compromised, and Austin is Sunday night, and Austin is one of our favorite cities. So Linda and I are going to go to Austin, and then I'll take off Monday. And then that next Saturday in Atlanta, it's a Saturday night show. So I
Wow.
can fly in Saturday and fly home Sunday and not have to take vacation time. So I'm getting two shows, and I'm very happy.
I was really hoping that I could try to make the DC show
Yeah,
because for me right now with what's going on in my life, that would have been very logical
yeah,
and just really impactful. But that also is the last week of school and we have finals.
yeah.
And I might get in trouble if I'm not there to give finals that last
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
but
That,
I'm still weighing my options.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, what as and we're going to get to in a minute that you've made a decision to enter the political fray, but give me your thoughts as just a fan first about the idea of it. Rumor is this happened very quickly,
Mhm.
that there is, I think Stephen has talked about in an interview that this was not something, this came together very quickly. Obviously, this past summer, he was Land of Hope and Dreams, and he was very vocal, and there was criticism about him doing it in another country. And my argument was, but that's where he's touring.
Yeah.
And so now he's going to bring it here to America. So, first, as a fan, what's your thoughts?
Bruce, and we as fans have called for it many a time when we've been down, when we've fallen on hard times, when things aren't going as they should, or something hits us hard. What do we say? Bruce, where are you? We need something. We need your music. We
Yes.
ask for it. I understand that we are in a very politically divided time right now. And so that will probably be where the pushback from people that say he shouldn't be doing this. But I've always said that nobody has the right to tell any of us what we should or should not be doing. We always need to be our authentic self. And at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we need to be true to who we are.
Yeah.
And so my thoughts are I see him doing this in a lot of ways for the same reason I'm doing what I'm doing. When you feel the call and you know that this is something that you have to do, you feel like you do it. And I don't know Bruce, but I know Bruce.
Yeah.
And what I think is we've always known the stories and the things that he stands for through his music. And I think this is just one more moment for him where he believes he has a story to be told and a message to be shared. And he's going to do it. And I'm very grateful for it, both as a fan and a patriot of this country.
So, Kathy, I often ask in an interview, can you remember when you first discovered Bruce Springsteen, and was there a specific moment that made you become in love with his music? Is there a specific moment? And Kathy has made the decision to run for Congress. And so we're going to talk about that, but was there a aha moment that made you decide to do this, or was it a series of things?
It was an aha moment, but I think it was building with, I teach history, government, and economics.
Yeah.
And the government that I teach is not what's playing out in DC. In fact, I will explain to kids how things work, and then they'll raise their hand and they'll say, but Miss, that's not what's going on. I teach history. And the dark chapters that I teach in history are exactly what we see playing out. And it's not just my eyes that see it that way. My own students, when we talk about things, someone will inevitably raise their hand and say, but isn't that what's going on here now? And my big moment was when, about a year ago, when the bill got passed that gave permanent tax cuts to the billionaire class and gave a very small tax cut to the working people. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Let's not talk about the loopholes that don't make those things really as good as they sound. And
Right.
they're temporary. They expire in 2028.
Yeah.
But what really was frustrating for me is a lot of the cuts that they made in healthcare are impacting. I live in rural Nevada, and those cuts are impacting the healthcare that is available to us. And we already have a hard time getting access to affordable healthcare. We're looking at hospitals closing. We're looking at vets unable to get healthcare that they need. We're looking at our seniors unable to get to their clinics now. And I was very frustrated because the person that is our representative refused to answer any of our questions. And my whole thing is, if the policy is good and I just don't understand it, then enlighten me.
Sure.
Explain
Explain
it
to
to
me.
me.
Yeah.
Look, we can have different ideas about how we solve different issues. That's politics.
Yeah.
Okay. But if there's something that a constituent doesn't understand, your representatives have an obligation to explain it. And our representative wasn't. And so I decided that I was going to run simply because I wanted to force him out of the shadows and make him face the people and explain it so that we could understand it. Because I'm tired of the division and the arguing with people over whether it's good or bad, right or wrong. And I wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. But at this point in time, I really feel like democracy is on the line. I really do believe that. As someone who teaches history and government, this is not hyperbole. And I get that we are a republic, but it's democracy with a little d. It's a verb. It's when people vote for their elective leaders. It's when the leaders vote on the legislation. That is democracy. And those institutions, separation of powers, checks and balances, rule of law, they are all being tested, if not broken right now. And I just decided it's an all hands on deck moment, and running for office was the only way I knew how to stand up and fight back, so that when I'm asked, what did you do? I can say I ran for office.
And I'm so proud of you for doing that. What frustrates me, many things frustrate me, but I regularly email and call my two senators here in Texas and my congressman. And always, 100% of the time, their answer is, thank you for reaching out to us. Let me explain to you why you're wrong in expressing this opinion.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you why what you're saying isn't important. Not, and because you're right, I think that if you if let me explain to you why I think that we needed ICE to keep this country safe.
Yeah.
And no, that's just, we believe in supporting law and order, not this thing. And
Yeah.
I will tell you, there may be a change coming, Kathy, because a relative of mine that is as far right as I've ever seen, owns a gun safe, is just as far right as he could be. And we have the US Marshals. What do we need ICE for? If you're worried, if you are truly worried about bad people in a city, we have a whole department that's trained on that, that can do that, can go get them.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I am a law and order person. I teach
Sure.
government and I believe in the rule of law. I'm a Libra. My
Yeah.
sign is the justice scales.
Yeah.
Not that I believe in that, but I believe in
Yeah.
it.
Sure.
If you want to secure the border, then we should have the enforcement down in the border. But what
Yeah.
we're seeing with ICE is we are seeing a group of people that are not following the due process. This is America. You aren't supposed to have to walk around with your papers. You don't have to tell people where you were born. And so what we have is a group of people who are not following our own constitution or our own laws. They are not going out after dangerous criminals. They're just rounding people up, and oftentimes they're rounding up US citizens. They're rounding up Native Americans. You cannot get more of a right to be here than that.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing too is immigration has never been an issue to be solved. It's always been an issue for both parties to try to run on. And with the hearings and things like that, one of the first things this administration did was it drastically reduced the number of judges and people that process the paperwork for those who were seeking asylum. So it created an even bigger backlog. If you want to screen people and vet people and give people hearings to find out whether or not they should be here, you don't eliminate the positions that do that job. And that's what we've seen over and over again with this administration is they say that we heard the other night they were conducting a war on fraud. And yet the first thing they did was in the IRS, they eliminated many of the positions. The Doge people went in and eliminated many of the positions in the IRS that investigated fraud. And then they pardoned, most of the pardons have been given for people that have committed fraud, and they've committed them in Medicaid and Medicare fraud. And so you don't get to say that you're against one thing and declaring war on it, and then you're constantly forgiving it of others, and then cutting the very departments that do that. They want us to be divided left and right. They want us to be divided by what we call our own special interest. But this fight is a top versus bottom fight. When you look at what is going on in this country with the income inequality, it is because billionaires, and I have nothing against people getting rich. Bruce is rich, and he earned it, okay? But here's the thing. The billionaire class is getting all of the tax cuts that are permanent, and we're not. And they're creating monopolies in the healthcare industry, in the food industry. They're taking over the farms, driving out the small farmer. And they're creating monopolies in the industry which go against capitalism that says you have to have. Part of the invisible hand that Adam Smith talked about was that you have to have competition.
Yeah.
As an economics teacher, I believe that capitalism is the best economic system we can have, but you have to have capitalism with a conscience. And I don't think that we should try to eat the rich, but I don't think the rich should be devouring us either.
Yeah,
and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, Kathy, I really agree with that. And I am asked often, especially Linda gets asked a lot. I don't remember Jesse being this vocal, this angry. And I think the hypocrisy just finally reached a point where I used to hate my mom was a big do as I say, not as I do person. And I despised that as a child. And it when you say you want safe borders, but you I'm people should come here the right way, Kathy. They should come here the right way. But when you make it hard, when
Mhm.
you cut funding, yes, absolutely. We should have tons of security at the border, and we should have tons of judges and tons of the ability. And it should be very quickly for you to be able to tell,
Yeah.
do you have asylum or not? Yeah, should we be? The I think of Bruce's American Land, right?
Yeah.
Where people who built this country, they're always trying to keep out.
And the thing is America has always been built on immigrant labor. When you go back to the beginning of American history, I mean, we all know the story of the Mayflower because that's what we get taught in
Yeah,
school. But the first colony was Jamestown, which was in Virginia, and that was 1607. Mayflower didn't come around until 1620, 1629.
yeah,
Because those were the colonies, Massachusetts Bay and Plymouth were up in Massachusetts, 1620, 1629. Jamestown was 1607. But the majority of the colonies were started as economic ventures by charter companies, and their job was to come over here and find the resources, it was based off of mercantilism, find what resources you can, open up new markets so that we can expand our trade, commerce and trade. And the colonies, because this place was to us frontier, although it was the land of the Native Americans and they were living quite well in harmony with it. Of course, they had wars against each other, but they had their way of living that was different from the Europeans. But the labor that was brought over to America was indentured servitude. And
yeah,
that went on all the way up until Bacon's Rebellion, when the indentured servants got tired of the colonial leaders getting all the good land and them getting land that really didn't belong to them. And then they were engaged in warfare with the Native Americans. So what did we do? We ended indentured servitude and we increased slave labor. And then we know the history of that. But America's, and then what did we do during the industrial era? That was when you started to see the Great Migration. And first it was from Western Europe, and then we had the Southeastern European immigration waves and the amount of hostility. Go back and look at the political cartoons that were put out at that time. The amount of racism and hostility towards immigrant labor coming to America by the people, it was always something to divide the people over. You mentioned being able, and immigration laws have changed, and now we've got immigration coming mostly from the southern border. People don't move because life is good. People
right.
move because it's not working. And so, one of the things we need to do with immigration reform is yes, we need to have people come to this country legally, but we've got to find a way to make it so that it isn't so expensive. That's why the number one obstacle to coming here legally is I don't have the money to
Right.
get in. And then you don't have the resources available in terms of the judges and the hearings and the people that process the paperwork. And I'm sorry, but when your kid is starving, desperate times call for desperate measures. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
I I saw a YouTube video a few months ago, and I'll have to try to find it again, but it was a guy explaining the difference of that in the Midwest, that a lot of the farming can be done with machines,
Mhm.
but in California and the South is it has to be done by humans.
Right.
It has to be done by hands. And
Mhm.
there are people who come here that are very happy to do that. It is a needed thing.
Yeah.
And he said, he was like, there, when you're talking about fixing immigration, something vital is a way, and call it a green card, whatever you want, where you
Hmm.
can come here legally to work
Yes.
and make good money for you
Yes.
and to pick the food we use and could do this because it is required for the economy,
Well,
right?
it is. And it's such a complex issue, but one of the things that flabbergasts me is they go in and they will do these roundups of people
Yeah,
that they say are undocumented or whatever word you want to use that, aren't here according to our lawful terms. They'll round them up, they'll deport them, imprison, whatever. You never hear the owner of the corporation or the company or the farm or the field of being arrested, being charged, being fined. They
No.
are left alone to just recycle through a new group of people. So it's an exploitation of labor, and the owner is once again, the boss gets away with everything and the workers get punished.
Yeah.
And if you want to put an end to that, let's have accountability on both ends.
Yes.
But you can't have a two-tiered system of justice in your country and have justice. Justice, by definition, means fair and equally applied laws. And so if somebody is breaking the law by being here without proper documentation and working, so too is the person who is hiring that person
Yes.
with that without that documentation. So there needs to be accountability there as well.
Yeah. I just watched, and this is fiction, but I think there was a lot of truth to it. I just finished the latest season of The Night Agent, and there is a scene where this banker they were basically funding money laundering. And a financial reporter is talking to this executive, and the executive said, banks have always done this, and banks will always do it. And we'll get our hands slapped, we'll pay our speeding ticket, and we'll go back to doing this again because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is no consequences.
The idea of too big to fail. It's, what we're living through right now. You talked about the frustration and the anxiety and people just being worn out. And that's what they want. Again,
Yeah.
it's not a left versus right. It's a truly top versus bottom.
Yes.
And they want to grind you down because then you'll just give up, lay down, and then they just finish running over you. But this is something that didn't just happen in 2016. This has
No.
been going on since the 70s. When you really look at what's been going on, trying to reduce democracy, limit the number of people that can vote, cast doubt on whether your elections are really free and fair. That's one of the principles of concentration of power and wealth. And then you have to shape ideology and get people, tell them what they're supposed to think as opposed to teaching them how to think. You want to redesign the economy. So in the 1970s, corporate tax, wealth tax was as high as it had ever been. And then that's when we said, oh, we want to do the trickle down. We need to cut corporate tax and the high wealth tax, because if they do that, they will reinvest in the economy. If you pay me and you a little bit more money, we'll reinvest in the economy too. We'll go out and see more concerts. We'll go buy more Bruce records. We'll go out and eat dinner. We'll go on a vacation. We will go out and buy some new clothes. We will reinvest in the economy if you give us money too. But what they said is we'll do the trickle down. And then what ended up happening, as soon as they cut corporate wealth tax, they offshored all of our manufacturing jobs. One of the principles of the invisible hand is that you have to have free movement of labor. You and I are not free to move overseas and go to work over there.
No.
It doesn't work that way. So they took away our good manufacturing jobs and replaced it with what they call financialization of the market. And so you went from having the separation of your local community bank and then a separate commercial bank, and you saw those merge. And then what did people do? GE quit making light bulbs, and GE just became a company that just moved money around.
Yeah.
And they made money by moving money. But that doesn't create a job for me and you.
No.
And the only person it creates wealth for is the person with wealth.
Yes.
And it left the workers behind. And that began back in the 70s. And we're just now really feeling the full impact of what they've been doing. And then what they want to do is undermine your institutions, undermine your public institutions like your schools, undermine them, talk about how poor they are, don't fully staff them, don't fully fund them, so they'll fail, and then people will demand that you replace it, and then you can privatize it. And we are seeing a huge rush of people to private schools, charter schools, and homeschools now. And my school district is broke right now. We have 3 school districts in the state of Nevada that are broke. And we don't know where we're going to get the money. We were told that we might not make payroll in June.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this playbook in action, and we're just now starting to really feel the impact. And that's what I'm saying. Democracy is on the line here because this is a playbook for how you take a democratic society and turn it into an authoritarian one.
Yeah. So, Kathy, not all of us can run for office. What do you suggest we do for those of us who are concerned about this? What do you suggest we do?
Stay informed. And by staying informed, try to support your local news, try to support local newspapers. Be willing to get outside your bubble. And as hard as it is for you to listen to the opposing popular news network that you love, get yourself informed and hear both sides and be willing to ask the questions and look things up. But I think the biggest thing is know your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, see each other for the humanity that we are. And remember, we are not the enemy left and right.
Yeah.
It is the people that are above us in the top 1% who can live anywhere they want. So I would say focus on community. Listen to learn, not to argue.
Yeah.
Listen to learn and understand. Try to find something that you can both agree on. And I think if we just start from the middle and try to just work with one another. I know people say, I'm just not that political. I don't want to I'm tired of it. I just don't want to do it. I want to tell you something. The government never gets tired of you. They will always be political with you. The street you
Right.
drive on is political. The school you send your kids to is political. The fact that you have a birth certificate, a death certificate, a social security card, a driver's license, every bit of that is political. Remember, the government is here to protect and serve us. We are not here for the government. But yeah, what can you do? Stay informed. Find out what's going on at your kids' school and be involved. Be involved in as many civic and community activities as your time will allow you. Find one thing that you enjoy and go try to be a part of that, whether it's working at the senior center or going up and dropping off donations at a senior center, volunteering at the local school, whether you have kids there or not.
Yeah.
Go to the library, donate books. If you've got young kids, go out and do things with your kids and as a family. Unplug. Stay informed, stay involved, but don't doom scroll your life over.
I know that in the first election in 16 that, where we elected this current president, I made a point of subscribing to the New York Times and my local paper.
Yeah.
I said and it's always funny when you post an article and like, oh, it's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, you need to pay for news, right? It is there. Yeah, I agree with you. It is really easy to hate each other, and that doesn't win anything.
No.
I know it's a cliche, but I do think we're more alike than we think. We both want good things for our children.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want to be able to get up, go to work, earn our pay, feel good about where we spend our time working. We feel good about the money that we earn doing it. Be able to have a nice home that we don't have to have luxury, but we just want to be comfortable like everybody else. Have a little extra, have something to pass down to our kids, give them a start in life.
Yeah.
And live life with the least amount of conflict and drama as possible.
So I will also urge them to find their local officials, keep communicating, even if they don't agree with you. I was called out on social media. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You just post. And I said, there is a candidate, Ernest Lineberger, that is running for Congress as a Democrat. And I put out signs. I wrote 50 postcards.
Yeah, right on.
Coming up saying it. And It is just little bitty things like that to help.
Yeah.
And I think all of us roll our eyes at the amount of emails we get asking for money, and everything's a crisis. But
Yeah.
I do believe you find causes you believe in and you support them any way you can, with your time, with your money.
And look what we do with the light of day. Look at
Yeah,
we do it with those different organizations. Those are causes that we believe in. And if you believe in democracy, find a way to work to save it. You might not want to run for office. And I mentioned a handful of things that you can do to strengthen the
yeah,
bonds of your community. But if you do want to be a little bit more connected, but you don't want to run for office, door knock, put those cards up, volunteer and see what you can do on a campaign. Sit at the table and take the sign-ups at an event that
yeah,
somebody's going to come to. I would really encourage people to know about your local school board if you have kids in school. I would really encourage people to go and at least get the agendas and read through the agendas on their local city council meeting, so that if you see something on there, you have a concern, reach out to your representatives, have them explain it. Be willing to go and speak during the public comment and have your voice heard, or write or call
yeah,
your representative. As an educator, one thing that I would really strongly advocate to parents if they have kids is when you hear people saying things about what's going on in school, this, that, or the other, go to your school, ask to speak with the teacher, take your child with you so it's not a he said, she said.
yeah,
Teachers are working
yeah.
really hard, and we are asked to do more and more every year with less. And be supportive, demand accountability. But before you jump to any conclusions or start believing any rumors about what's going on in this institution or that institution, go to the source, ask questions, do your own investigation. Yeah, those are, I think, important. We need to gain trust in our local communities.
One of the things that I find is that we want to believe the best in ourselves and the worst in others,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
versus trying to give other people grace,
Yes,
and absolute.
absolutely. That is so beautiful. Yeah, that is so true. We need to grant one another grace and forgiveness because it was most definitely granted to us, according to
Absolutely.
what I believe.
I
And
believe so too.
um, and
Yeah.
that's what we're all called to do, is exercise our better angels, try to see the best in one another as opposed to the worst. Try to understand things from other people's perspective. Doesn't mean you have to agree, but at least be willing to listen to where they're coming from,
Yes,
because you
absolutely.
would want people to do the same for you.
Absolutely. Kathy, if someone wants to reach you, how can they?
Oh, please go to Kathy Durham for FOR, and that's Kathy with a K. So Kathy with a K, Durham, DURHAM for FOR, Congress.com. Or you can reach me at Kathy Durham for Congress at gmail.com. But check out my website. And if you're in Nevada, register, make sure you can vote for me. If you like my platform, I'm not a politician. I have no desire to be a politician. I do want to be a public servant, but really right now I am just wanting to use my teacher voice in the halls of Congress and maybe bring a little bit of classroom management to the House floor. I want to straighten some things out so I can go back to my classroom and do what I love, and that's teach.
And I think, well said. I will include the link in the show notes.
Thank you.
And let's have you back on later. Let's keep in
Let's do it.
touch,
We'll have
okay?
I got a primary on June 9th. We'll find out how that goes. And
Sounds good.
all right, Jesse,
All
thank you
right.
so
Thank
much.
you, Kathy.
And
Listeners,
thank you,
please.
listeners. Thank you,
Yes,
listeners.
listeners, go to the website, check it out. And if you're going to Portland, be sure and give
Yes.
Kathy a hug.
Yes. And I think I'm going to take some cards and pass it out with a little QR code and tell people it is a political tour, so I might as well take a little bit of politics on the road
Absolutely.
with me.
Very nice. All right, Kathy, as always, I love visiting with you. Let's talk soon. Bye.
Jesse, be well. Take care of your health, bud.
I will. See you
All
soon.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Set Listing Bruce. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll check out other episodes of the podcast. Before we wrap up, I've got a few quick housekeeping notes on how you connect with me and follow my other projects. I'm still on Twitter, aka X, at Jesse Jackson DFW. The show is also there at Set Lusting Bruce. We've got a Facebook page both for me and the podcast, so please stop by and give us a like. I'm part of a few other podcast adventures as well. On Perfectly Good Podcast, my co-host Sylvan and I are talking about every John Hyatt song in alphabetical order. Both Set Lusting Bruce and Perfectly Good Podcast are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast Network, home to hundreds of music faux shows. So explore, there's something there for every fan. My good friend Charles and I continue to do deep dives into all things Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere. And Lou, Karen, and I are chatting about pop culture and The Expanse on JKL Media. I'd love to hear from you. Email me at setlustingbruce@gmail.com. You can also leave a voicemail, 469-249-2442. If you've enjoyed any part of this podcast, please head over to iTunes and leave a rating or review. If you listen on Spotify, you can leave a comment after each episode. I will read them and share them on the show if you'll let me. They truly do help other people find us. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't. Suggest someone you think would be a great guest. Getting to talk to people about their experiences, whether it's music or other creative passions, is one of my greatest joys. I hope these conversations bring you a little joy, a little peace, and a whole lot of love. Keep hope alive.